everybody, and welcome to another episode of Blood on the Razor Wire TV, where we bring it to you real and we bring it to you raw. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit that like button if you like the video, share it. Comments are important. I try to respond to everybody. Today I'm going to bring on a kid that I was in prison with, but I'll let him introduce himself and tell you who he is and how he ended up in prison, and we're going to get into it. The mic's yours, bro.
My name's Eric. I'm from Forsyth County, North Carolina, which is Winston-Salem. I met Chad in 2017, 2016 in New York. I went to prison on armed robbery, robbed pharmacy. I had robbery of a Controlled Substance Act. My minimum was like 60 months. I got the maximum 87. It was no weapon. I started off my federal bid in West Virginia in Gilmer, which was a FCI. It was rocking at some parts of the year. You know, it was mostly a DC yard. I mean, the politics were like, it was semi-political. I mean, it was, they had some dudes coming from the pen over at Hazleton over there, so they brought the politics with them. And I mean, the white dudes, we had a few tables in the chow hall. You know, we had our own thing. We had TVs in the units. It wasn't super political, but it was at the same time. So, I mean, if you tried to like jump cars, if you was trying to mix and mingle, you would get pulled up on it pretty quick. I mean, they had the race issue they pushed the race issue pretty bad in West Virginia. And, but I mean, other than that, I mean, it was a pretty laid back prison. I mean, it did jump off a few times though. I mean, it was, they had a race ride there. They had a gang, they had like a gang war there with the GDs and the rest of the GD faction. They was going at it. So we stayed locked down a good bit of the first year over that. And I mean, they didn't let the Latin Kings back out. So
we're going to talk.
I mean, all in all, it was a good prison though. I mean, you know, I've been to worse, but I mean, as far as starting out my federal sentence, I wasn't used to the racial stuff. There was no racial divide in my state prison. So when I came to the feds, it was like night and day. So, I mean, I grew up around a lot of blacks. So coming to the feds, it was a big, drastic change for me. The dialect that I speak from the South, they don't talk like that on the West Coast or even up north. We have a lot more slang down here, so it made it a lot harder for me. I had to fight more battles. I got put on the chopping block first. When it was time to put in work, I was one of the first ones out there because of how I carried myself. Because, you know, I was liked by all races. I mean, you know, I was a likable guy. You know that.
So look, we're going to talk about, I want to talk about your childhood first, right?
Yeah.
How'd you grow up, man? I mean, you grew up in a good family? Were you rich? I mean, I want to know how your childhood was.
Man, I grew up dirt poor, Chad. I grew up on a farm. It was the Duncan farm. My dad raised us to work hard, man. That was what we were beat into us from the time we were children, small kids, until we started going to prison at teenagers. We were built to just work. But our problem was all three of us, I grew up with two brothers, we wanted to fight all the time. Just violence. And it had a lot to do with how we were being treated at home. But at the same time, that's just genetically, it's in me. So growing up, we fought each other. You know, we dabbled in drugs as soon as we started into 12 and 13. But my dad was real violent towards us. Real violent. Like, he would just beat us if we got out of line. He didn't do it for no reason now, but he would take it too far. And that made us violent. So going to school, you know, I got expelled out of schools. I couldn't go to public schools from fighting and getting busted with drugs in school. And growing up, man, with two brothers as tough as they was, and I had to be that much more tougher being the middle child, I ended up getting on drugs pretty early on. It started off with weed, and then, you know, pills, and then before you know it, I was robbing. I was robbing to get high. I was chasing it, and I didn't know, man. You know, I'm older now, but I was chasing that dope, man. And I was a dope fiend. I was a dummy back then, man. I did anything to get money, to get where I wanted to be. And I caught my first prison sentence on a breaking and entering beef. I got 11 months, 9 to 11 months. I started off in poke you spread, which is it's a straight savage yard, but it's a difference when I say savage as far as the feds. You got the pins, that's a different type of savage. That's straight knife action. It's a hands-off policy. If it's not worth killing them, let it go. But then you got a place like Polk where you going in, and as soon as you get there, you're gonna fight. I mean, the minute you get in there, you and your homeboys gonna get together, and y'all gonna choose who's gonna fight who. And when y'all get in the unit, I went to D1, what they called it the projects. When I went in the unit, they had a couple of the shot callers, a couple of the dudes came up and said, look, this is the get down. If you don't got no heart, you can't stay here. So basically it was a heart check. So when we went in there, me and the dude I grew up with, Shane, we ended up boxing. So Polk, the way it started off with a lot of violence, man. It was a lot of violence. There's people always fighting. There was a Sergeant Dorsey there, and a sergeant, there was another sergeant who would beat your ass. Oh, excuse my language, but if you got out of line, you got tore up by the police too. And they was gang banging down there too. Just like the inmates, the police was gang banging just as hard. They had a thing where they done red light, green light. Where if two individuals was gonna go back in the corner and fight, the police would do a red light, green light. If he said it was a green light, everybody was free to go. Y'all could go at it. Y'all could fight long as y'all want. Y'all could do whatever y'all wanted to. When it was a red light, means he's coming back in the pod. So they set up those. They had them. They called Friday night fights. They set those up every week, and they had us fighting in there. They'd have us half killing each other. People was getting knocked out and then get punched again, get woke back up.
I want to ask you about that. So, was the cop in the unit for Friday night fights? Were the cops watching the fights too, or were they act like they left and didn't know what was going on?
Nah, it was all about money. They were betting on the fights. This cop Dorsey, he's a big dude, man. He would bet on the fights a day before. If it was two white dudes was gonna fight, that's the fights he wanted on, because all the white dudes that come in to him was weak. Every white dude was soft until he seen them go in there and duke it out, and then he'll place bets. So he wanted to bet on you.
White cop or black cop?
Nah, black cop. There was all black cops. All black cops. You're down in Durham. Durham's mostly, it's the projects down there, man. And that's where Polk is. Polk's down in Butner, North Carolina. And it's all projects. So all the police there is all gang banging. They call it Bull City down there. It's gang bang city in North Carolina. It's just like Charlotte. Charlotte and Durham, it's all just gang banging. So it was. But being at Polk, it was an absolutely horrible prison. I stayed there for processing. I stayed there for like almost 3 months. And it was the whole 3 months. I ended up leaving there and got busted back to closed custody. I went to Alexander, and Alexander was just as bad. It was different though. It was no more fist then. It was hands-off policy. Now you're going back to knife action. Now you're going back to straight knife play. That's it.
I want to ask you about the robberies. What were you doing? Robbing pharmacies?
Yeah, I was robbing pharmacies. We had been doing it. Well, it had been getting done for, I'm gonna say, 2 years. And then when the feds finally got on it, they had done indicted my mother. And when they indicted my mother, I had got my indictment. And
Your lights went out in there.
yeah, I got it. But yeah, they had indicted my mother and indicted both my brothers. I was the only one that they had on a physical robbery, which was a CVS pharmacy. They had me on robbing it in November, but they indicted my people 7 months later. They indicted them on a state level. They got my mother for trafficking, my brothers for trafficking. They had my state case was just started off as just a robbery. I stayed in the county jail for 14 months. The feds picked me up after I finished out my state time. The feds picked me up, they reworded it. Instead of North Carolina, they called it common law robbery. The feds called it robbery of a controlled substance. So instead of me going to prison for the robbery, I already did time for that. They sent me to federal prison for what I stole. So not only did I do the robbery, I went to the feds for the same robbery, just a different charge. And they boxcarded it.
That's crazy, man.
They ran my time consecutive with my state time, so I ended up doing a whole 8 years, almost 8 years, off of a 6.5-year sentence.
I remember talking to you, and I remember you were stressed out about your mom. You thought your mom was going to end up with 20 years. Do you remember all that?
Yep. Oh, man, it was horrible, Chad.
I was with you.
Man, when they offered her a plea of 22 years. She did nothing wrong. If I'm going to tell it, I might as well tell it all. They've all been, this case is all done and over with. My mother did her time. My brothers did their time. My brothers are still doing their time. They wanted to hit my mother for everything that my little brother did. So what they done was they wanted my mother to testify against her son. She told them no, she's not doing it. So they indicted her on every prescription that he stole because she was the RN. She was the one the pad came from. So they tracked it all the way down from my brother, my cousin that got caught and snitched, and then they tracked it all the way down to my mom. And boom, I was sitting in Raybrook, New York in March of 2018 or 2017. I can't remember. I think it was 2017. I didn't know if I'd ever see my mother again. I didn't know if I'd ever see my mom again. And I had already been down 7 years. And she's 54 years old. I was never going to see my mother again. And she did nothing wrong. The only thing she did, honest to God, would not tell on her son. She was not going to testify against Dustin for nothing. They gave her 3.5 years for it.
They want to put a 54-year-old woman in prison for 20 years because she wouldn't testify against her own son.
That's exactly right.
Horrible.
That's exactly right, Chad.
So she can't.
And I'm going to tell you.
She's not a nurse no more or nothing. They took all that from her.
They took it all. They took her RN license. I mean, she was making great money. I mean, she was doing phenomenal. She went to school for 4 years. I mean, she did everything that another person couldn't do. She went back and got a high school diploma at 35. She went and got a college degree. They snatched all of it from her for nothing. All because she done what most women should do. And that's, I mean, a lot of women, I'd say they would have probably, I don't know what would happen, but I know what my mother did. I know she took it to trial. If they wouldn't have gave her that last plea, she was going to take every day of it and die in prison. I thank God every day they gave her one more plea. Right on sentencing day, they gave her a 36-month plea, and she took it.
Was that
when I got that letter, I was in the hole because they tried to sell me up with a child molester at Raybrook. They tried to bump me with a child molester. I ended up, you remember, I smashed him, and then I was up in the hole for like 3 months, and that's when I got the letter. And that was a blessing. I mean, a blessing in disguise.
Hey,
I get to see my mother now every day. You know, I got out, I made a little boy. I mean, it couldn't have worked out no better.
That's what's up. Let me ask you something. What was that kid's name, man? Remember you were going to fight him on the yard? I was going to make you guys handle your differences.
Yeah, the redheaded dude. God, I can't remember his name. But
he was from West Virginia, right?
Yeah, he's from West Virginia. What he did,
Jesse.
We was in West Virginia together. All right, I had to put some work in on the yard with a cat from Tennessee, which had nothing to do with me. I got voted in for it. Well, so I went out to the yard. I handled my business with this kid from Tennessee, and the redheaded kid that we're talking about, he had owed some money on the yard. He wasn't with the Woods. He was on homie time. So he had ran up some I don't know, I can't say for sure, but I know he left the yard. He checked in. I can't say why he checked in, but I know he checked in. All right. I handled my business on the yard. I ended up going to the hole like 2 days later. All right. Me and the kid Josh went to the hole for fighting. And then I seen the redheaded kid back in the hole. I was going to wreck early that morning. It was like 5:30 in the morning. We out to wreck. I seen him through the door. And he was like cheesing at me. So I didn't think nothing about it because I never seen the kid before.
TJ.
So I was like, dang.
Hey.
The dude's white.
Eric. His name was TJ.
Yeah, TJ, that's his name. TJ. So TJ, he came to New York. He seen me. I had been in the hole for 2.5, 3 months. He sees me. He was cool at first. He wanted to talk. He wanted to walk around the track. He wanted to be cool. And then he somehow felt threatened by me because I seen him in the hole that I was going to expose him, which I wasn't. It's not my business. But then he tried to flip it around on me like I owed somebody money. And I said, hold up, homeboy. I said, listen, number one, I got a shot. I got an incident report for a 201. You got what? An investigation? Exactly. Yeah, I mean, his story didn't check out from the beginning. Everybody knew it. He tried to bring some bloods to the yard. I don't know what he was going to do with that. But the blood, as soon as they heard the story, they said, whoa. They said, you didn't tell us all that. And they walked off. Then he was by himself. And then it was back to one-on-one. And he was like, nah. He wasn't trying to have no wreck. And then he kind of backpedaled off his story. Then it was, well, he might not have owed money, but he did this. And I'm like, nah. But anyways, we was going to leave the chow hall. I had talked to you at the chow hall, me, you, and Dean. And we all was going out there. And somehow it ended up, him and Cedric got into it. Him and Dean got into it. Dean was all on him. Dean was going to put it on him bad. And old boy ran. He ran through the gym and ran and hid in the bathroom. But yeah, he got real close, Chad. He got real close to seeing another side of me. He wouldn't have liked. But he shot his shot. He knew what the deal was. He couldn't really say a lot after that. You know, we let him stay on the yard.
See, listen.
I mean, that's one thing. I should have mashed the gas on him and really, crushed him for what he said, for real.
You were changing your life, though. You were doing different things with your life, man.
Yeah, it was that, but I was in New York. Hey, New York, man, I loved it up there. I loved it. Don't mean I wouldn't have mashed the gas on him. I'm telling you, I would have crushed that dude. But something inside me, I was different then. I'm different now. You know, I'm not that young dude no more, man. I'm 35 years old. You know, I still, like I said, what he did was wrong. Yeah, I should have put it on him, but it is what it is. It's done and over with, but yeah.
Don't trip,
yeah,
man.
That happened.
It's over with, man. You're a better person today, right?
Hey, I tell you, Chad, it's like a 360, man. But I see it both ways, though. I see it in both of us, me and you both. Hey, they don't realize I've been on the other side of the wall where we both. I mean, hey, you one of the most liked dudes on the yard, though, Chad.
Well, I appreciate that, man.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you though, I would have never thought, and you kept telling us for a long time that you was gonna get out and do all this. The only thing we didn't know about was the YouTube channel, but everything else we already knew about it.
I didn't know about YouTube back then, but yeah, man, you change your life, man. You grow up, and you know something, Eric. That's why I wanted to bring you on the show. You were a wild kid, man. When you were in prison, you were just a little young wild dude, and I tried to hone you in, man, and get you to, you know what I mean? And really, Cedric did. Cedric was, Dean was on you, man. Wanted to see you do the right thing, man.
Y'all both guided me, man. Y'all both guided me, and I was a lit fuse, man. I was going down. I was on my way down. I was calming down, but you and Dean meeting y'all, man, was a blessing, man. It was a blessing. And hey, y'all, you had a 40-year sentence. He had life plus 5 years. I'm looking at both of you outside. Y'all both out here today. So, hey, it's a beautiful thing, man.
That's what's up. So when you were in Raybrook, right? You said you loved Raybrook. What did you like most about it, man?
The weights. I ain't pumping iron, man. I had never been able to do that in the feds if you don't have weights. So I had, being away from weights for 6.5 years from the state to the feds, it was beautiful, man. Then I started blowing up quick. So, I mean, I gained a lot of weight up in New York. I mean, it was the people up there. The people were hands down the best part about being in New York. It was a whole different, the respect level up there versus down south is completely different. It's like up there, it's like the ultimate respect, and down here it's like mediocre. You might hear somebody drop the B word just in passing down here, and that's disrespectful. I feel like that's being in public. I can't be around a lot of people, and it's just certain words that I hear that are just, I'm like, what? Like, certain people, they say certain words, and it turns me the wrong way because I'm programmed to, you don't say words like that.
Let me ask you this, though. I asked you because, you said, I loved it down there, and a lot of times, I don't never say that about prison, that, I love this. I mean, there were times when we had some good times in there, but, there was some violence there, too. So I want to ask you this. What did you dislike most about Raybrook?
Man. What I disliked most.
I know you were there for some of the lockdowns.
Yep. What I disliked most about it, it's one thing. Freezing cold. Hey, New York down here we don't get that kind of weather.
Yeah.
Up there, that is vicious weather.
How about this? How about I reverse the question a little bit?
All right.
Did you dislike missing your family? Did you dislike not being able to talk to your mom when you knew she was possibly going to prison for the rest of her life? Are those the things that hurt you?
Oh man, they crushed me, man. I'm gonna tell you, for 2.5 years while she was going to trial, that was the most agonizing pain I've ever felt in my life. And I lost my child. Losing my child and losing my mother to a prison sentence, those two things right there are the most strongest things ever happened to me. My robbery case, I didn't explain a little more, but I lost my daughter a month before I started committing these robberies. On November 16th, when I robbed that CVS, I didn't rob it to get high. I robbed it to go one last time. I was gonna go do something real crazy because I had lost my child.
Tell the people how you lost your daughter, man.
My ex We had split up. We had been split up for almost 2 years. I took custody of Memory. Julie left and went off and done her own thing. She got with a guy that loved to drink. Well, she came back around for like 6 months. She was wanting Memory in her life. And my mother let my daughter go with her to spend one night. And she got beat up real bad. The mother did. So she got beat up real bad. And then Memory went to daycare the next day and told the daycare workers, Justin beat up mommy really, really bad last night. And she explained it. DSS got involved. They took my daughter. I tried to jump through every hoop possible for a month to get her back. I was doing anything. And then November 1st, I seen her one last time in a visit at the daycare. And she told me in the visit, she said, Daddy, she said, I felt like I was going to lose her forever. I just didn't feel like the odds was in my favor. And I feel like we was having our last father and daughter talk. And she told me, she looked at me and she said, Daddy, everything's going to be all right. She said, I'll be home in 1 minute. And I ain't seen her again since. And they got Julie for neglect. I went to prison for robbery because I robbed the pharmacy 3 weeks later. After I lost my child, they told me on the phone, look, we're going to court. We're going to set up an adoption. You know, I wasn't the DNA. I wasn't the biological father, but I raised the little girl from birth. So I took her I tatted her on my chest. I mean, I got her on me. I raised her. She was mine, but she got taken from me. I lost hope. I lost all hope. And when I robbed that pharmacy, that was my way out. I was going to rob that pharmacy and overdose, and I was going to take a couple people out with me on the way out that I felt had harmed her the most, which was took her away from the family that she loved and only knew. This was the only family she knew. And they kidnapped her, placed her with another family, and basically laughed in my face. So I went to handle business. I mean, straight up.
So listen,
I ended up taking myself out in the meantime.
So you've been to some bad places. You ever see any violence in Raybrook?
Oh yeah, it was violence in Raybrook. Yeah, it was
I don't want to get too.
A couple times, but actually, I take that back. My first day at Raybrook, you might remember this. There was a dude in the what was the first unit, the special unit.
Mohawk.
Was that the one that had the trustees at?
Oh no, that was all Sable, right?
Yeah, all Sable. Well, the dude, he was from New York. I can't remember his name, man. He got smashed my first day there. Big ass dude. You remember him?
Was it at
man. What's his name, Chad? Dad, man.
Was it at commissary or in the yard?
It was in the yard.
Oh yeah, the blood kid.
Yeah, the blood kid. He got smashed the first day we came off the bus together. What was his name?
It was OG Mac's brother. I know who
it is.
Yeah,
man. Divine?
I forgot, but I know exactly who you're talking. I remember the incident.
Yeah, he got crushed. He was a big gangster dude, man.
I'm asking you that for a reason. I don't want to delve too much into the violence right now today, right? But I'm asking you that to ask you this. Do you think that the violence that because you've seen a bunch of it in West Virginia, you think the violence that you've seen affected you mentally and emotionally? Or did you just become numb to it?
Well, I'm going to have to be honest. I've been numb to violence for a long time. But being numb to a level of violence is different. Because when you see stabbings or people get their face booted off, that's a whole different kind of violence. That right there, that scars you and numbs you at the same time. When you see somebody get aired out, stabbed, they're getting stabbed up in their cell, someone holding the door shut, that's going to stay with you a long time. And I've physically seen that.
Let me ask you this, Eric. How long you been free, man?
I've been free now for 31 months.
Longest time you've been out of prison since you were 16, huh?
It has. It's been the longest time I've been out since I was 15 years old.
Let me ask you this. Did you used to dream about that, getting out and being able to do the right thing when you were sitting in that prison cell?
God, that's all I thought about. But I had this one scenario, Chad, it was crazy. I thought I would go into a store and my daughter would be there all grown up. And she would, she would remember me and I remember her. That was the only, that was my biggest fantasy, was getting out and finding her. But instead I didn't. Instead I got out and made something better.
Well, we're going to talk about that real quick before we close the show, right? You're working, right? You own your own business or no?
Yeah, part owner. We got a construction company down here. It's a remodeling. A guy named Victor Williams is a partner of mine, and we started remodeling places 2 years ago, and we actually just started. He got his contractor license. I'm subcontracting, so we're making pretty good money right now. It's doing great. It's phenomenal. We just picked up a huge contract with Section 8 housing.
That's what's up.
So we're gonna start remodeling all the Section 8 homes.
So really, man, it's like from prison to prosperity, right?
That's exactly right, man.
You gotta.
Hey, you couldn't have said it no better. And it was because of one thing though. We changed. Well, I can't say we changed the way we look at life now. We don't look at it the way we used to when young crazy Chad or young crazy Eric. We used to look at it a whole different way. If you disrespected us then, we wanted to smoke you. Now, if you disrespect us, to an extent, we just keep it moving. So, I look at life a completely different way now.
Yeah. You got a son, right?
It's when I was going through and committing felonies, it was worth it then. But now, after doing 13 years in prison, it's not worth it anymore.
You did a total of 13, right? 8 in the feds.
Yeah, over 30. Yeah, a little over 13. Count my 2 state bids in, and my feds. Yeah, I got a little over 13. Of just all my 20s is gone. I don't have no 20s.
Put that stuff behind you now, though, right?
All of it's behind me. Every bit of it. I terminated my parole it actually took the whole amount because he wanted to make sure I wasn't gonna go back. So I had to do my whole term on parole, and then they released me. They just cut me loose in February, so I'm done completely.
I want to ask you this:
have no new charges, no nothing.
And you got a son now, right? You had a baby.
Yep, I got my little boy's name is Alexander.
How old is he?
He's 20. He's 2 years old.
So you met a nice girl, man. You got a son. You own your own company. So look, man, you got out of the streets, you got off drugs, and it feels good to be a father, don't it?
It does, man. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing, man. It's beautiful. It really is, man. It's so much better than I had ever imagined it sober.
Yeah.
Back when I had my daughter, I was high. I wasn't a good person. Now that I'm a good person, I can enjoy it with my son.
That's
something I wanted more than anything, was just to enjoy life, but enjoy it with my family.
That's what's up.
But now, my little brother, he's about to go back. He's facing a life sentence. He got a murder charge last year, so he's not. I'll probably never see him again. But my oldest brother should be coming home in the next few months. So
hold on a minute, Eric. You got 2 brothers, grew up together, getting high, robbing pharmacies, doing all kinds of stuff. Your mom's jammed up. And one brother gets out and he takes this road, and the other brother gets out and he takes the other road. And now
that's exactly how it happened.
And now you're living your life, you're living your best life, and he's on his way back to prison probably for the rest of his life, man.
For the rest of his life.
You know what that tells? You know what that tells the kids out here, man? There's 2 roads.
It tells them.
Right? Let me say this, right? All roads.
Hey, it's a crossroad. You got to make a choice.
You know what I think, Eric? I think all roads in life, for good or evil, they begin with one small step. When you choose the path, you choose your destination, man. And sometimes you get an opportunity to change your step, change your path, and change your destination, man. And you did that, man. You're an example.
Hey, God, we both are. I mean, there's a lot of us out here, man. There's a lot of us out here that did it. And I mean, I've seen so many men come on your show, our show, and we've all did it. It can be done. The kids that's out there now, they about to get put on the hood, or they're about to grab a gun, they're about to go put work in, or whatever you about to go do, or go sling that bag of dope. Slow it down. Slow it down. There's gangsters out here that's 35, 45, 55 years old. We done did it. We done did it. There's nothing y'all can do that we ain't done 100 times. Slow down. Get a job. It might not be the best job at first, but eventually you'll find the one that meets you. And it'll be right for you. It'll be perfect.
Look, man, I'm going to get ready to end the show, but if there's anything you want... Hey, that was your message for kids right there. I don't have to ask you because you already did it. But
yeah, that's it.
Is there anything else you want to say before we close?
Yeah, I mean, that was my message. But in the end, everybody, all Americans, we need to come together, man. We need to watch out for each other. And any youngster out there, male or female, and you going down that road, hey, man, let me be the one to tell you, it's never ending. It's a never ending cycle. That door will never ever close. I opened that door when I was 12 years old. Look at me now. I got gray hair. I'm 35 years old. I just now had a little boy 2 years ago. That should tell you, this is a small scenario. If you look at Chad, 40 years, and just imagine that's your sentence now. It's yours. You can go do it now. 40 years. It's not something you want to do. It's not something I would elect. If I could talk to the younger me and say, look, this is what I would do. I'd say, look, get a job. Find you a good girl to settle down with. Get a job. Make babies. Well, if that's what you want to do. And kick back. Kick back. Because if not, I mean, you can make money, you can live life, you can go do all the things you love to do, and you can do it free.
That's what's up, man. I appreciate you coming on the show, man, and I've watched you change your life, man. I knew you when you were a wild kid, man, ready to, pedal to the metal, man, and I'm just glad to see you out here, man. A husband, a father, a business owner, all the things that you never could have even thought were possible back then are possible. So, look, man, I'm going to close the show, man, with respect. Blood on the Razor Wire TV. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button. Share the video. I think it was one of the best ones we've done. Until tomorrow, we're out.
Like, subscribe. We love y'all.